What's going on, guys? Dan Watson. And if you had asked me a couple months ago what would be the most powerful camera under $1,000, this would not be it. But I have a camera right here that has absolutely changed that right now because of two things. One is that over the past couple of years since I first reviewed this camera, it has gotten a series of upgrades that have just been unbelievable in making it amazing. And the other thing is that right now the price just dropped an incredible $400, $200 more than the most amazing sale I've ever seen it, which is bringing the price to $900. So clearly enough to get this camera and have a little bit left over, and the lenses on this are just amazing. So this is the camera. It is the Fujifilm X-T2. Actually, this is the Fujifilm X-T3, which I have right here. But we're talking about the Fujifilm X-T2. They are almost identical in body, and a lot of the features are the same, especially when it comes to the photos. So let's talk about why the Fujifilm X-T2 is the most powerful camera right now, under $1,000, and why you should really consider picking this up, especially on a sale like this. So first, let's talk about some of the upgrades that we've seen here. There are actually 34 major improvements to this camera that have come via firmware update, which, first of all, I love a manufacturer that is going to improve their camera. And I'm not talking about little things. I'm talking about adding 120 frames per second, which did not exist before, adding the ability to change ISO while shooting, adding F-Log to the SD card recording, which you used to have to output over HDMI. I mean, these are major things, a whole lot of functionality things as well on the photo side, and a lot of pro-end features that have come to this camera via those updates, and also some massive improvements to autofocus performance, which it was good when I tested it, but it has gotten so much better, and I really think that you're going to love it now. The other reason is cameras like the Fujifilm X-T3, which confirm that this manufacturer is not just producing cameras, but it is producing cameras that are going to rival and exceed every other camera on the market right now. So this Fujifilm X-T3, honestly, it blows away any APS-C camera right now that is in existence, with things like 4K, 60 frames per second, insane shooting speeds, amazing quality. I mean, there's so much to love about this camera that even the Fujifilm X-T2 is just going to give you next level performance. But here are the things that the Fujifilm X-T2 can do that no other camera can do right now. So first, let's talk about the build and ergonomics and weather sealing. This camera is obviously built like no other camera out there. You have the manual dials in addition to your normal scroll wheels. These dials, they can be confusing at first if you're not somebody who loves manual shooting. However, after a long time, I've really gotten to love them. It is nice to work with them. I will say they're not as fast, so it's not my favorite for any time I need to adjust my settings extremely quickly, but it is a whole lot of fun to use. You pull out this camera and people know that you're serious. It looks incredible. It's stylish. I love that about it. But it's not just about the looks. It backs it up with things like complete weather sealing on this. In fact, the build quality on this is going to be better than most other cameras. Actually, I think just about any other camera below $1,000 for sure. And considering cameras like this is the Sony a6400, and this is a great camera by all accounts. So I'm not trying to diss this camera at all. It is great. This is what a camera should be doing for about $900. But this is giving you so much more, not just on performance side, but the build quality side than cameras like that. So in addition to that, we have pro-end features like dual card slots. I mean, this is something that Canon and Nikon have been pulling out of their $2,000 mirrorless cameras, even more than that on those. This is something that we do not see on cameras in this price range. You really have to go up to see that. I love dual cards because it allows me to take this camera into situations that I normally would not, like something like a wedding where I don't trust single cards. I've lost cards before. I've had formatting errors on cards before. So this is something that I really love having, is dual cards. Nothing else is going to give that to you. Something else you'll notice is that you have a joystick on the back. Again, this is a feature that has been pulled from a lot of even higher end cameras. And APS-C cameras, especially your under $1,000 entry-level cameras, are just not going to have that. And when you have cameras like this that have so many autofocus points, it's a great autofocus system. I think it has 325 points. Great. It doesn't, the only negative I would say is that it doesn't extend all the way to the end of the frame like your newer Sony cameras, but it is incredible, and it still gets you better than what you would on normal DSLRs. So you do have a joystick for being able to move those around. Also, you will see this very large eyepiece right here. The viewfinder is great, solid magnification. With a lot of entry-level cameras like this, the viewfinder might be there, but you're just not going to get the same kind of viewfinder experience. It's off to the side, it's small, it's difficult to look through. Even the Canon EOS RP is a very small viewfinder that can be difficult to use. This is just great to use. I love it. It's good for video as well when you need to get your exposure and it's super sunny outside. The screen, though, is pretty easy to read. I will say that. It's a solid screen, but the viewfinder experience is, again, next level. And one of the most overlooked features, I would say, in cameras is going to be the maximum shutter speed. On entry-level cameras like the a6400, it is limited to a 4,000th of a second. There are a lot of cameras that have that limitation on there. Here's why that's important. If you get into areas where you have a lot of daylight and you're shooting a very fast shutter speeds and you have wide aperture lenses, usually you need faster shutter speeds than that. Not only can you shoot an 8,000th of a shutter in mechanical on this, you also have the electronic shutter option, which can shoot, I think it's like 32,000th of a second. It's insane. But you do have that shutter speed for the electronic shutter, which is great. And if you're thinking that this is an older camera, let me remind you, 24 frames per second and one of the better image sensors there. People love Fujifilm image quality. This camera is why. Great image quality, solid dynamic range. Also, the picture profiles on this are great. It's one of the best images out of camera that you can get on most of the cameras out there. So I highly recommend the image quality. Also, with the battery grip on this, you can achieve 11 frames per second full RAW shooting with features like dual card slots. Without the battery grip, it does go down to 8 frames per second, but still amazing performance from the X-T2 on speed and overall image quality. Next, let's talk lenses, because lenses is another area which Fuji is just really exceeding the competition, especially in the APS-C market. This is a kit lens. It is a $300 upgrade from the body alone. It is an 18 to 55 millimeter f2.8 to f4. That means it's about a stop wider than virtually any other kit lens on the market. And even if you upgrade to the higher end kit lenses, which are normally f4 lenses, this is going to give you f2.8 on that wider lens. It is also very compact, well built, all metal, and it has optical image stabilization on it. You have your controls. You have an aperture ring on this, which is just awesome. You don't get that on most other cameras. So you have a control ring as well as your zoom and manual focus. So this is something that you just do not see on most kit lenses, and this is only a $300 upgrade for really an amazing lens, and one of the other big reasons to get this. Check this out. This is a 35 millimeter f2 lens. It is so compact, so light, you'll barely even know this thing exists. So this will come out to be a 50 millimeter f2. They're not very expensive. All of these prime lenses are below $400. It's only a 43 millimeter filter, and so you can put 58 millimeter filters on here, step up rings, that's a popular size, and you can get some great quality, inexpensive filters for that. So when it comes to lenses, this is a next level camera because you can get some amazing glass for a very cheap price and also very compact. Video shooters, you are not going to be left out here. You have 120 frames per second in 1080p, which actually came from a firmware upgrade, as well as 4K up to 30 frames per second. You can output via HDMI up to 8-bit 422, and then you also have log shooting in camera, as well as just an amazing suite of picture profiles that look unbelievable straight in camera to be able to do that. So this is a powerful camera. It gives you manual control over just about anything that you would want. You are oversampling in both 1080p and 4K, although there's a slight crop in 4K. It's like a 1.17. It's almost insignificant, but it is there. So keep that in mind. And then you're bringing in the amazing lenses and the ability to shoot wider apertures. The only thing I will say is that lenses like this, most of their prime lenses, do not come with stabilization. So if you're shooting prime lenses, you might need something like a gimbal in order to get stable shots, or be shooting on a tripod, or unless you love that handheld look or don't have my shaky hands, then you could pull that off. But on the video side, this is an incredibly powerful camera. I've shot a wedding with the X-T2. The X-T3 just brings it to a new level and unprecedented performance, like 4K 60 frames per second, which no other APS-C camera is doing right now. So you know that Fujifilm is convinced and really pushing the video features in this camera, so it's great to see. You also have a mic jack, as well as the ability to have a headphone jack if you go with the battery grip. You will probably want that battery grip if you're shooting video, because two things. One is the battery life on this camera is a little bit limited. Again, with cameras that are more compact, you're using a little bit smaller batteries, and so they will drain a bit faster. But in addition to that, you are limited to just 10 minutes recording without the battery grip. But if you add the battery grip, you will get the full 30 minutes of record time that you would see on virtually every other camera on there. Most of my clips are under 10 minutes, but occasionally when I'm doing long recordings like this, you will want to go HDMI out into a recorder, which is great quality, or you will want to get that battery grip, which will give you not only a headphone jack, which is built into that grip, but also that longer 30 minutes of recording. Man, at $900, this camera, the X-T2, is just an amazing camera. I am using the X-T3 right now. Follow me on Instagram at Learning Cameras, at Facebook as well. I am posting a lot of behind the scenes of stuff that we are shooting with our new cameras like this. So if you want to see some stuff, make sure you're subscribed if you want to see the full review when this comes out. And again, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your opinions below on this, but man, at $900, I've got a link to like all my favorite lenses and gear and stuff like that. If you're buying the X-T2, what you would want along with it. So you might want to check that out if this is your first time using this camera. It is a little bit of a learning curve with these dials if you're not used to manual shooting, but it is so much fun to use these cameras. They look amazing. They're built so well. The image quality is great. Autofocus performance is great. And now you're getting it at $900 with dual card slots and stunning video quality. And I don't know, it's just kind of a no-brainer. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. See you guys soon in the next video.